Hello and welcome back to Fallon Radio. I want to share with you today a little bit about burnout and coming out of burnout and how to kind of manage and maneuver all of these things. So it's not like a strictly educational episode. It might be a little bit of story time in here. But it's been coming up a lot for me today, so I want to talk about it for today's episode. So I started a lot of my online journey just around the time of the pandemic. I had been posting earlier than that. I had been posting for, YouTube. I was doing a bunch of travel stuff. That's what I was interested in at the time. And then in 2020, I was like, okay, yeah, I really want to start an online business. And so I got into, posting online, posting on social media, just solely because I wanted to make money online. And it took me, I'm going to be honest, it took me a little while to get out of that. And even now today, there's times where I find myself like, oh yeah, I want to post. And then I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I don't want to fall back into this pattern. So I want to bring awareness to this. So in 2020, I had that pressure. And of course, when the pandemic kind of happened, it just added pressure to the pressure. And then it was like, because I kept spending money, it was like I just continued to pressure myself every single time, in every single way possible. And when I finally hit a point, I want to say it was 2022. Yeah. Well, in late 2021, I had taken a step back. And then again in 2022, I want to say maybe even 2023. I think it's actually 2023. Because Penelope was born in 2022, and I really didn't do very much in 2022 online. And I vividly remember getting back into ththings when she was probably, close to a year. Maybe it was the end of 2023 going into 2024. Actually, no, it was early 2023, and then again at the end of 2023. Timeline aside, there was a point where I definitely felt the burnout. It was a May. I remember it being a May because it was the end of the crew season. I was coaching crew. And I had reached this point of burnout, and I was like, I can't keep posting. Like, I just can't keep doing this. And what I want to circle back to is the pressure. Because the pressure cooker that you put yourself in, or the pressure cooker that, contributes to social media, that's ultimately what caused the burnout. And I think it could have been resolved a lot earlier if I recognized it and I recognized my fatigue around it earlier. Because I think of, like a normal bell curve, and there is a point where everything's going great. You reach the top, and that's actually the first signal of burnout at the top of the bell curve. And that's like, oh man, I just want to take a break, right? Like, that's your first sign of being tired of something. And when you're getting your first sign of being tired, that's your first sign to listen and step back. Because if you keep going, then what happens? The quality of your content, the quality of your videos is going to go down. The results of your content, the results of your videos is going to go down. And like any other results that follow, whether it be monetization, brand deals, just any of that other accompanying asset enhancement would decrease in general, because now you're not on the upward part of the curve, you're on the downward part of the curve. So it's really important that if you feel like, oh man, I just don't want to post today, honor it, respect it, give it its space, because if you have created content to be able to still post it, even if it's not, like 100%, if it's like 72%, it's better than zero. Okay. Like it might not be 100% what you want to post exactly. Like maybe when you review that draft, you're like, meh, post it anyways. Seriously, it's in your drafts. You know that you don't want to do something for the day. It's already been batched. You took the time to do it in the past. So just do yourself a current present favor and respect it. Like just put out that video, even if it's meh. Okay. So I want to cover this because I have been finding a lot that I do want to post. I do want to start posting again. And I have started, a couple things here and there. I talked about what's going on, behind the scenes on the podcast last week with us walking through what potentially might be a leukodystrophy diagnosis for Penelope. And we're going to get the diagnosis tomorrow, which probably will be today since I release episodes on Tuesdays, and I'm recording on Monday, May 11th, but we're going in for her diagnosis tomorrow, which is Tuesday, May 12th, which is actually today because you're listening to it today. Or if you're listening to it sometime in the future, then it's already in the past. But we're not going to get into timelines. Point being, I have wanted to start posting again. And I've put up a couple posts here and there. And I felt very out of it is the best way to explain. Very lost. Because I do want to help people. And there is a lot that I have learned in the last 6 years about content in particular. And I have had success with our wedding events social media page. So, it is something that I feel very confident around and very confident about because I have had a transformation. I have gone from, 100, 200 followers to 100,000 plus. I've taken multiple accounts to over 10,000 followers. I've taken multiple accounts to over 1,000 followers. It's not the followers that are necessarily the transformation. I think the transformation is more going from content that can't get people's attention, that would more or less be considered shit content, and then heading into a direction where you can effectively get people's attention, you can effectively grow your brand, and you can also have your mission, your message put out there for that person who might see your video. It's like, hey, I need her help. And then, they reach out. And I think it's really important that I talk about this because, and not just in the sense of content, but more in the sense of stress and burnout, because in my life in particular, there have been a lot of very heavy things going on in the background medically. There have been a lot of very difficult trials that we've had to walk through, and somehow I still keep returning to this because I know that I'm meant to help someone, and I know that I'm meant to help a lot of other people. And if it keeps coming back to you, it's on your heart and it's there for a reason. And it's really important that we also consider this from a different perspective than maybe what we have in the past. And so my time more recently of, not having been online has really showed me a lot more about wealth and wealth creation and focus and discipline. And it's not to say that I'm not a disciplined person. I do believe that I am, especially because I am a rower, and you have to be disciplined to be able to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, roll out of bed, get on workout clothes, and then hop outside in 30-degree weather into a boat and row on the water in the morning. So it really comes down to a difference, I think, where there are a lot of people who focus on creativity. There's a lot of people who focus on consistency. And in all honesty, consistency is not the key. It's just not. When we're looking at someone who is building wealth, and we're looking at someone who's convinced and motivated to change their life, what do you have? What do those two people have in common? Those two people, when you look at them, they are disciplined. And there was a post a long time ago from someone that I saw, and they were talking about how discipline is not it, and how discipline is this boring, like structured, stressful, rigid word. And you know what? Discipline and systems are going to get you where you want to go every single time. Because if you have the discipline to run it through the system, you put in, let's just think about it in terms of like if you were making, I don't know, like a plastic bottle for a juice bottle, right? You melt the plastic pellets and you put it into the mold and you heat it up so that, it takes its form, and then you let it cool and it takes its shape, and then it spits out a plastic bottle every single time. That's the system. And you can sit here and talk about how boring it is. Absolutely. And you can also sit there and talk about how many bottles of juice you've now created that you can ship this juice to people who are looking for all over the world. And it gives them, an energy boost, or it gives them something besides water to drink, or it gives them, a memory, a reminder of a memory of a, let's just say a Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, just because it's the first thing on top of my head that they had with their grandmother when they were a kid. Like that plastic bottle that we just went through the system, and it was so boring to put that plastic bottle through the system and then do it a million more times. That is creating an impact, and that's creating change, and that's creating a difference for people out in the world. And I think content and running an online business really is no different. And I've really kind of been sitting with that today, where it's not about consistency. If you're posting 2 podcast episodes a week, doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's about the discipline to keep putting all of those recording sessions onto your schedule and to keep doing it. And then the system to automatically export that episode and to share it and put it onto the platform without it taking any extra time away from you or your kids or your family or what have you, your boyfriend, I don't know, whatever situation you're in. But you understand where I'm coming from. It's not consistency. It's discipline and systems. And when we can start to approach content or business or wealth creation or income, whatever, you could take this to whatever genre, area, subject, topic, I don't care what you call it. When you take those two things wherever you want to go, you will find success and you will not burn out. And I wanted to talk about that in today's episode. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If this is something that you're like, wow, I never really thought about that, and you're right, these two things are pretty important, then I would encourage you to share this with someone who might benefit from this. And just because we covered discipline and systems in like a very broad sense in this episode, doesn't mean that we're done. We're going to dive in deeper, even deeper on another episode. But it is starting to get late, and tomorrow we do have to travel quite a ways for us to get a diagnosis for Penelope. So I am going to wrap this up, ask you to share it, put a nice little bow on it, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye.